Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to the History for Sleep channel. Tonight, we'll drift together, not across the land, but through the quiet sea of space, where Earth is just a shimmering speck, slowly turning around the sun. Let your shoulders soften, let your eyes rest, and let your mind open like a flower blooming in the dark. We're traveling backward in time, not centuries, but 4.6 billion years, to the dawn of everything, when this planet had no name, no life, and no one to listen to the wind. You might hear the sound of matter dreaming itself into form, dust of stars colliding, melting into light, while the solar winds hum softly across a newborn void, carrying the scent of iron, sulfur, and hope. Back then, Earth was not a place. It was a soul learning how to breathe. A surge of wild, gentle energy beating like the very first heart of the cosmos. Tonight, there are no formulas, no dry theories, no data to remember, only sensations. The quiet rhythm of creation that the universe once whispered into being. Each part of this story is a breath. Each image a ripple in the ocean of time. And you, listening now, you are that planet in human form. Because sometimes to understand Earth, we don't need to look outward. We just need to close our eyes and listen within, where our heartbeat echoes the turning of the stars. Now, let the story begin. Let us find together the first breath of Earth. Before we drift further into this journey, pause for a moment. Breathe in deeply and feel your breath moving with the slow rhythm of the planet. If these sounds bring you peace, if this story touches the edge of your dreams like wind passing over a still lake, please gently press like. Let the universe know that you are here and that you wish to hear more of its quiet wonders. Subscribe so that each night, when the world grows silent, we can meet again in this small corner of the cosmos, where time slows, and this voice will once more lull you with the ancient secrets of the stars. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for letting the Earth whisper within your sleep. Part 1. The First Breath of Earth. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine, before time had meaning, before the word Earth was ever spoken, there was only a vast, silent ocean of darkness. No sound, no direction, only the endless black of space where the seeds of life drifted like forgotten dreams. Somewhere within that silence, a young star awoke. The newborn sun, fierce and radiant, exhaled rivers of solar wind, scattering dust and gas into great spirals of light. Inside those spirals floated the ingredients of everything that would ever exist: iron, carbon, oxygen, and the faint shimmer of what would one day be called life. The dust began to collide, not with thunder, but with gentle, patient contact over millions of years. Each impact, small and quiet, was like the universe whispering to itself, "Begin." At that moment, there was no land, no sea, no sky, only the will to exist, gathering itself into form. The dust melted, fused, and glowed, turning chaos into creation. From that storm of molten light, a world was born. Young Earth, a sphere of fire and iron spinning slowly through the cold void. No life, no air, only lava, smoke, and the deep red pulse of energy. And yet, within that fire, the planet took its first breath. If you could place your hand upon the surface of Earth, then you would feel it. The primal symphony of existence, the rumble of magma, the vibration of shock waves, the heartbeat of molten metal forming its core. Every sound, every tremor, was a note in the first song of life. Science calls this planetary differentiation, but the soul might call it something else, the moment when Earth learned how to breathe. Deep within, iron sank to the center, forming a glowing heart. a metallic core that would someday shield the planet with a magnetic field, protecting its air, its oceans, and every fragile life that would follow. Without that heart, there would be no home, no us. Can you feel it? Even from the beginning, Earth was already an act of grace, a miracle born not from magic but from the perfect patience of physics and time. The young planet was far from calm. Meteorites rained endlessly, each one reshaping its skin. The crust cracked, melted, solidified again and again. Creation, destruction, rebirth. The cycle repeated like the slow beating of a cosmic drum. When we think of Earth today, calm, blue, filled with wind and song, it's hard to believe that it all began in utter chaos. Yet maybe chaos is the womb of order. Maybe silence is where the first word is born. Just as in meditation, when all noise fades, we begin to hear the rhythm of our own heart. Earth too listened, and by listening, it learned to live. Scientists call this fiery age the Hadean era, the age of hell. But within that hell lay the seed of paradise: extreme heat, crushing pressure, violent storms. All of it shaped the foundation for everything alive today. The universe always balances itself. In destruction, there's creation. In chaos, there is harmony. In death, there is the quiet promise of birth. If someone asked, when was Earth truly born? You could smile and answer, the moment the last grain of dust stopped falling and began to breathe. From that instant, time began to flow, not in days or years, but in the rhythm of heat and cooling, eruption and stillness, collapse and becoming. Each rotation was a heartbeat, each collision, a lesson in survival. Imagine now, floating above it, watching this red, molten sphere spinning slowly in the dark. Meteor storms streak across the black sky. The surface roils like an ocean of fire. No blue, no clouds, no air, only the silence of creation. Everything that would one day become forest, ocean, mountain, and you was already there, asleep within that glowing shell, waiting to awaken. After hundreds of millions of years of fire and impact, Earth began to cool. The crust hardened. Vapor and gas rose, wrapping the planet in mist. The sun's light softened. The first clouds appeared. Thin, white, trembling veils above a world learning to rest. If consciousness had existed then, perhaps it would have whispered, "The planet has learned its first lesson: to breathe, to be still, and to wait." Wait for what? For rain. For the first drops of water that would fall from the newborn sky, turning fire into ocean and silence into song. But that is the story of the next chapter, when the heavens begin to weep and life learns to swim. Tonight we rest here, at the moment when Earth first opened its eyes and saw the darkness around her as home. Take a slow breath. Inhale the air that was once forged in that same explosion, the dust of stars, the memory of fire, the echo of that first planetary sigh. Every atom in your body, the carbon, the iron, the calcium, once drifted in those ancient clouds. They melted, cooled, slept, and rose again, to become you. You do not live on Earth, you are Earth. Awake, thinking, remembering. Now, as you listen to the rhythm of your own heart, know that it is the same rhythm that once pulsed through molten stone, the same heartbeat that began when the planet first drew breath. The universe still hums softly. In the spin of worlds, the tides of galaxies, the quiet of the night. And Earth, child of stars, mother of life, still smiles in her long dream, singing to us the lullaby that began with her first breath. Part 2, The Rain of Fire. When meteors made us, when the Earth first learned to breathe, the sky was anything but calm. If life could have existed then, it would not have been a body or a voice, but a quiet will to exist, sleeping beneath layers of molten rock, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The ground was not land yet. It was an ocean of fire. For hundreds of millions of years, the heavens rained stones and fire. Thousands of meteors cut across the newborn sky, glowing red like cosmic brushstrokes, painting the destiny of a world still forming. There is no life that begins with gentleness. Before every birth, there is violence. Before every dawn, there is darkness. From about 4.1 to 3.8 billion years ago, the heavens above the young Earth raged with endless collisions. Gigantic asteroids, the size of mountains, fell from the farthest corners of the solar system. Each impact shook the planet to its core, melting its surface into seas of lava. But within that destruction, something sacred was being built. Each fall, each fiery blow sent waves of molten metal sinking deep beneath the crust. Under immense pressure, these metals gathered, merging into a heart of iron. From this fiery heart, Earth's magnetic field was born, an invisible shield that would one day protect life from the deadly breath of the sun. If Earth could speak, perhaps it would whisper, "I was struck 1,000,000 times, only to learn how to protect." The sky then burned with a constant crimson glow. The planet trembled, but with every tremor the iron heart grew stronger, spinning faster, generating power. That magnetic heartbeat became Earth's first act of love, a promise to guard whatever fragile life would someday walk upon its skin. How strange that violence itself forged gentleness, that every wound became a wall of protection. Tonight, when you see a shooting star trace the sky, remember this. Those falling stars were once the rain of fire that made you. The iron in your blood, the nickel in your veins, they did not come from Earth. They came from the sky, from ancient meteorites, from exploding stars that died billions of years ago. When you feel your heart beating, you are hearing the echo of those collisions, the rhythm of Earth's molten core, still beating inside you. Now imagine standing beneath that ancient sky, ash clouds stretching from horizon to horizon, fiery stones raining down in endless waves. Each meteor was a memory of a star, a gift of creation disguised as chaos. Scientists call this era the Late Heavy Bombardment, the most violent period in the planet's history. But if we listen not with reason, but with the soul, we might call it the rain that created. Because within that rain of fire fell not just stone, but water, trapped in ice, carbon and amino acids, the seeds of life. Destruction, it seems, was not the opposite of creation, but its instrument. Some of those meteorites carried more than elements. They carried memory. Fragments of stars older than our sun, burning one last time before merging with the Earth. They melted into the magma, becoming one with the planet's blood. And from that blood, life would one day rise. To think, to remember, to dream. So we can say this with truth and wonder. Life on Earth did not begin on Earth. It was given, poured down from the stars. Between those endless impacts, the planet sometimes fell quiet. Dust clouds dimmed the light, the air thickened with smoke and silence. Earth looked as if it were sleeping, but it was only catching its breath between heartbeats. When the storms cleared, magma boiled once more, and deep inside, the iron core pulsed steadily, keeping time with the cosmic rhythm. That pulse never stopped. It still beats today, in auroras at the poles, in the compass of every bird, in the very stability of your world. If the previous chapter was the first breath of Earth, then this one is the first heartbeat. Breath opens life, but heartbeat sustains it. The core does not need light or sound, it simply moves. A silent devotion, alive for 4.6 billion years. And strangely enough, when we look inside ourselves, we find the same truth. A soft, steady heart that never stops, a reflection of that ancient iron core. We too are built from the rhythm of pain and endurance. Amid the rain of fire, the planet slowly learned balance. Some regions cooled. The first crust hardened, floating upon oceans of magma. Rocks collided and fused, forming the first continental fragments. Through smoke and flame, Earth was sculpting its face. It was no longer a chaotic sphere of fire, but a living being, a body with a heart, a skin, and a pulse. And so, within the violence that lasted hundreds of millions of years, the universe completed one of its most delicate miracles. From storms of destruction, it forged a world of care. From fire, it created protection. From chaos, it formed the quiet foundation of life. What we call catastrophe was simply creation in progress. Without the rain of fire, there would be no magnetic field. Without the impacts, no iron heart to defend us from the void. And without those brutal beginnings, there would be no gentle breath of life today. Imagine now, watching from the edge of space, the young Earth glows red beneath a sky of meteors. If you look closely, you might notice something, a rhythm in the chaos, a pattern in the fire. Each impact is not a blow of destruction, but a stroke of craftsmanship. The universe is a blacksmith, and the planet is the molten metal under its hammer. Every strike shapes it. Every spark is a lesson. And what emerges from the forge is a world that will one day dream of stars. From this fiery chapter, we begin to drift toward the next. When the storms fade, when vapor thickens, and when real rain, not of rock but of water, begins to fall. When the earth's fire cools and for the first time, water touches the skin of the world, a new chapter awaits. From fire to water, from violence to gentleness, from chaos to rebirth. But for tonight, let us rest here, in this red, trembling silence of creation. Listen closely. Beneath the ancient thunder of falling stars, you can still hear it. The slow, steady heartbeat of the earth. Breathe in, gently. That breath still carries the dust of meteors, the heat of that ancient forge, the memory of the rain of fire that made you. Because we are nothing less than stardust that learned to love. Part 3. The Birth of the Moon. The Child of Collision. After the rain of fire, there was silence. A silence so deep that even time seemed to hold its breath. The earth, still glowing from within, turned slowly beneath a veil of vapor, its wounds cooling, its heart steady. And yet, creation was not finished. Because even after the forge, the universe always leaves one final spark. One last moment of collision that changes everything. Scientists call it the giant impact hypothesis. They say that more than 4.4 billion years ago, a wandering planet, roughly the size of Mars, drifted into Earth's path. Its name was Theia. It wasn't a meeting, it was a cataclysm. The two worlds rushed toward each other at 20,000 miles per hour. And when they met, the sky became pure light, rock shattered, oceans of magma exploded into space. For a few brief hours, Earth had no shape, only a glowing storm of debris and vapor swirling around a molten heart. From that chaos, A ring of fire and dust began to circle the planet, and in time, those fragments drew together and the moon was born. Science describes it with equations and simulations: momentum, gravity, angular velocity. But beneath those numbers hides something far more tender. It was not just a collision. It was a birth, a moment of unbearable violence that gave rise to companionship, the first relationship in the solar system. The Earth, newly scarred and trembling, had given part of herself away. And from that sacrifice, a child began to glow in orbit, a smaller mirror, a silver twin. If you could have stood there, watching from the quiet edges of space, you would have seen a sight beyond imagination. A young planet, molten and radiant, surrounded by a halo of fire, and within that halo, a smaller sphere taking shape, rising from the ashes of destruction. It was the first night, and for the first time in cosmic history, Earth had a companion. For billions of years since, the two have danced together, locked by gravity and love. The moon circling endlessly, the Earth spinning, each shaping the other's rhythm. It was the moon who calmed the chaos. Her gravity steadied the Earth's axis, turned wild tides into predictable waves, and gave time itself a pulse. The rhythm of night and day, of ebb and flow. The moon became Earth's mirror, reflecting the light of the sun in softer tones, turning harsh fire into quiet glow. From her presence came the idea of rhythm, of cycles, of rest. Because of her, the oceans breathe in and out. Because of her, creatures learn to follow the tides, to sleep, to wake, to dream. If the Earth is the body, then the moon is the soul. A witness, forever circling, forever silent. She has no voice, but she listens. No light of her own, yet she shines. And in that reflection, we see a truth older than any religion or science. That love is not about possession, but orbit. About staying close without colliding. About holding distance and connection in perfect balance. Now, the ancients sensed this long before telescopes could prove it. To them, the moon was a mother, a lover, a guide through darkness. But perhaps she is something simpler, a memory of the moment when Earth first learned to share. Before the moon, the planet spun wildly. Days were barely 5 hours long. After the impact, the moon's gravity slowed her down, stretching the day into the rhythm we live by now. The tides began to flow, the oceans began to stir, and within those waters, the first spark of life would one day awaken. So when you watch the moon rising, remember, she is not distant. She is a fragment of our planet's body, torn from our side, still circling home. In a sense, the moon is Earth's memory made visible, a scar turned into light, a child born of collision. Every night, she reminds us that from destruction can come grace, from loss, beauty, from impact, harmony. The dance between Earth and moon is not just gravitational, it is emotional. A story written in orbit, a conversation that never ends. As the Earth cooled, the moon's light became the first night lamp of creation. It shone over newborn seas, over mountains still steaming from birth, and over the silence where the first raindrop would soon fall. The moon became the guardian of stillness. Her calm glow taught the planet how to rest, how to balance fire with peace. When you look at her now, you're not just seeing a distant rock. You're looking at a reflection of Earth's own past. Her craters are the frozen echoes of that ancient impact. Each one a reminder that violence can become art, and that light can be born from loss. And so from fire came rhythm, from collision came companionship, from chaos came night. The moon is not separate from us. She is the evidence that even in the darkest times, creation never stops, it only changes form. Now, as we leave this chapter, imagine Earth turning under the silver gaze of her child. The magma has cooled. Clouds are gathering. The first winds are stirring, and soon the rain will fall, not of fire this time, but of water. The world is ready to soften. The time has come for the oceans to be born. Breathe deeply. Look up if you can, and know that every night when you see the moon rise, you are watching the same story replay itself. The quiet promise that from every collision, something luminous can emerge. Because the moon, our oldest companion, is proof of this one eternal truth. Sometimes love is born from impact. Part 4. When the earth cooled, the rain that became the sea. After fire came waiting. After the great collision and the birth of the moon, the earth turned, slowly, rhythmically, beneath a veil of steam and cloud. The planet's heart was still molten, its breath still hot, but its surface had begun to cool. The storms that once rained fire now became storms of vapor, thick as dreams. And then, after ages of silence and smoke, something miraculous began to happen. The earth began to weep. It started not with thunder, but with whispers. High in the newborn sky, vapor condensed into droplets, tiny spheres of water trembling on the edge of existence. For the first time, the heavens exhaled, and the first rain began to fall. It wasn't a day or a year of rain, it was an age. Rain that fell without end, not the rain of storms and clouds as we know them, but a cosmic rain, the first breath of water upon stone. Each drop, when it touched the searing crust, turned instantly to steam, hissing softly, a meeting of opposites, fire and water, heat and calm, creation and surrender. It was the most beautiful sound this planet had ever made, the sound of balance being born. Scientists call this era the cooling phase, when Earth's temperature finally fell low enough for water to remain liquid. But to the imagination, it was far more than chemistry. It was a transformation of tone. The symphony of the planet shifted from the roar of fire to the rhythm of rain. For thousands upon thousands of years, the water fell, evaporated, fell again, a cycle so long that time itself seemed to blur. Every drop carried memory, the breath of comets, the essence of stars, the sigh of hydrogen and oxygen meeting for the first time. Gradually, the surface began to change. The oceans of magma dimmed. Cracks opened, forming valleys and basins, and into those hollows the rain began to gather. The first puddles became lakes. The first lakes became seas. And the seas grew until they covered most of the planet's face. The earth turned blue. It was the first true color of life, the color of calm, of breath, of potential. The sky reflected itself in the sea, and the two became one endless mirror. From that moment, the planet stopped being merely rock and fire. It became a living canvas. If you could have seen it, you might have mistaken it for a dream. A sphere of swirling clouds, steam rising from newborn oceans, light glimmering on rippling waves that no eyes yet existed to see. But in that unseen beauty, something profound was happening. The first steps of the water cycle, the heartbeat of all life to come. The rain would fall, steam would rise, clouds would form, and the rhythm would repeat, endlessly, patiently. It was the first breathing of the planet, in through the sky, out through the sea. In the language of science, this was the moment when the hydrosphere was born. But in the language of wonder, this was when the earth found its voice. The song of rain falling on stone, The hiss, the echo, the pulse, the music that would never end. Every drop of water on this planet, even now, is ancient, older than mountains, older than trees, older than memory. It has fallen 1,000 times before and will fall 1,000 times again. So when you hold a glass of water in your hand, you are holding the very same rain that once fell upon the newborn world. The poets of the future would call the ocean mother, but long before words, the ocean was already nurturing. Water soothed the planet's anger. It carried away the heat, the violence, the scars. It wrapped the world in calm, like a lullaby whispered by the cosmos itself. The ocean became a mirror for the moon, a cradle for the first chemistry of life, and the first sign that chaos can give birth to peace. Imagine it now, the first rainfall after fire. Lightning flickers above a dark sea. Steam curls and dances like spirits above molten rock. The sound is deep, endless, and slow, a sound like breathing. It's not destruction anymore, it's forgiveness. The planet, which once screamed in flame, now sighs in water, and that sigh becomes the sea. In every story of creation, there is always a moment of softening, a time when the world learns to rest. This was that moment for Earth. The moon watched from afar, her silver light gliding across the water's surface. Together, mother and child found their balance. Gravity and grace, motion and stillness. The tides began to stir, the air began to breathe, and the blue planet began to hum. From this union of fire and water, new forces were born. The weather, the atmosphere, the endless dialogue between sky and sea. Each drop of rain carried the promise of rivers, of clouds, of storms and serenity. It was the start of time as rhythm, the slow pulse that governs all living things. Water is not just a substance, it is a memory, a consciousness that flows through every form, a quiet teacher reminding the earth how to move gently. When you listen to the rain outside your window tonight, you are hearing that same ancient music, the song of beginnings, echoing through billions of years. It is the sound of creation relaxing, the sound of the planet finding peace. That's why rain soothes us, because deep within our atoms, we remember it. We remember when water first touched fire and called it home. Now, as this chapter draws to a close, the earth is calm, wrapped in blue. The storms have quieted. The seas glisten beneath the light of a young moon. And beneath those waters, in darkness and silence, the first molecules of life begin to stir. The next story is waiting, hidden in the deep, when lightning meets the sea and chemistry dreams itself awake. But for now, let us rest in the rain, in the quiet rhythm of droplets that never stopped falling, the lullaby that made the world gentle. Because once, long ago, the earth cried herself into peace. Part 5. The First Ocean, where life began. The rain had fallen for centuries, the fire had cooled, the planet, once red with fury, now shimmered in blue. And beneath those newborn seas, silent, endless, and warm, something extraordinary began to stir. It did not happen in a moment, nor in a miracle. It happened in patience, the kind of patience only the universe can afford. Beneath the shimmering surface, the oceans of early Earth were not the gentle waters we know today. They were dense with minerals, charged with lightning, and heavy with whispers of creation. Inside that dark, mineral-rich soup, simple molecules drifted, carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, sulfur, like dancers waiting for the music to begin. Then, perhaps in a spark of lightning, perhaps in the warmth of volcanic vents, two of them met. They joined hands, forming a bond, then another and another. Until one day, the first chain of molecules capable of copying itself was born. It did not have eyes, it did not have thought, it was only a pattern, but it was the first memory of life. Scientists call it abiogenesis, but it could also be called the first heartbeat of chance. Every ocean wave that lapped against rock, every bubble that rose to the surface, was part of the great experiment. The Earth, in her quiet way, was teaching matter how to remember itself. Each molecule that copied itself, even imperfectly, learned a little more. Each error, each variation, became a possibility. And possibility is the root of all living things. Imagine this scene, a twilight world, lit faintly by the young moon. Steam drifting over vast pools of water. Beneath the surface, chains of molecules twist and spiral, breaking, reforming, whispering in chemical rhythm. They are not alive in any way we understand, and yet they are learning the pattern of life. The ocean is not merely water, it is a mind, dreaming itself awake. Time passed, millions upon millions of years, and still the Earth waited. Inside her warm seas, those fragile molecules began to build walls around themselves. Thin membranes of fat and protein formed like delicate skin, separating inside from outside. And in that division, something beautiful happened. Individuality. The first cells, tiny spheres of life, floated in the water, feeding on energy from sunlight and minerals, replicating endlessly in the quiet dark. They did not know it, but they had already changed the fate of the planet. Every cell was a story, every replication a new word in the poem of existence. And in the slow rhythm of waves, Earth became not just a planet, but a womb. A place that held within her the promise of forests, the breath of animals, and the thoughts of future humans, all hidden within the simplest of beginnings. When we look back, it's tempting to see this as a miracle, but perhaps it was something gentler, not magic, but inevitability. Given enough time, enough patience, enough warmth, life was the natural song the universe was always meant to sing. Because every atom, every molecule has always longed to belong to something greater, to connect, to grow, to remember. The ocean was simply the stage where that longing became motion. And perhaps, if you listen closely tonight, you can still hear it. That faint hum beneath the crashing of waves, the whisper of ancient molecules, still carrying out their endless dance. For even now, in every drop of water, the story continues. Your blood, your breath, your tears, all once drifted in that same primeval sea. The hydrogen in your body was born in stars. The oxygen you breathe was shaped by the first bacteria. The salt in your veins echoes the ocean's memory. You are not separate from that beginning. You are that beginning, walking, breathing, remembering. If we could ask the Earth what she felt then, she might have said nothing at all. Only the deep, patient silence of a mother who knows her child will one day open its eyes. The oceans were her arms, the warmth her lullaby, and the cells her heartbeat. The planet was no longer just spinning rock and metal. It had become alive. From fire came water, from water came life. And from life, one day, will come awareness. The story of Earth is not a sequence of accidents. It is a symphony of patience. Every tide, every lightning strike, every silent night under the moon was a note in the song of creation. And that song still plays within you. So before we follow life's journey forward, before it learns to breathe air and walk on land, pause for a moment. Listen. The same ocean that cradled the first cell is still here, whispering against the shore. Its voice has not changed, only our ears have. Because once, long ago, in a sea without names, the earth whispered, "Wake up," and life did. Part 6. The color of air. When the sky learned to breathe. The oceans had become the cradle of life. Tiny, unseen cells drifted through the warm blue waters, quiet, tireless, ancient. They had no eyes, no voices, no dreams. Yet inside their fragile walls, a transformation was beginning that would change the face of the world. They were the cyanobacteria, the blue-green architects of breath. Before them, the sky was heavy and dim, a veil of carbon dioxide, methane, and haze. The earth, though alive, was still holding its breath. The seas shimmered beneath a copper-colored sun, but the air was unfit for lungs that did not yet exist. Then somewhere in the stillness of a shallow sea, a single cell learned a secret. It began to use the light. Through a process now called photosynthesis, those humble cyanobacteria captured sunlight, split water molecules, and in return, released something the planet had never known before. Oxygen. A waste product, perhaps, but one that would turn the destiny of an entire world. The first breaths of this new gas rose quietly into the air, unnoticed, uncelebrated, mixing with the ancient haze. At first, it changed nothing. But over time, millions upon millions of years, it began to build. Invisible, relentless, patient. And then, the planet began to change color. The dull gray of the sky softened, its copper veil lifting. The oceans deepened into blue. Iron in the seas reacted with oxygen, falling to the ocean floor as rust-red layers, the planet's own record of awakening. Slowly the blue grew brighter, the clouds thinned. The light grew clear, and for the first time, Earth revealed the color of air. Imagine it, a world emerging from shadow, the haze clearing, the sunlight scattering across a newborn sky. From the ground, the heavens would have shimmered like turquoise glass. The whole planet seemed to take one long, deep breath. If you could have stood there, you would have seen not only a change of color, but the moment when life learned to give back. These tiny, invisible beings, the first to truly breathe, were reshaping the very canvas on which all other life would paint. Scientists call this event the Great Oxygenation. But in the language of the heart, it was the dawn of blue. A transformation so subtle, so vast, that it took hundreds of millions of years. Yet when it was done, nothing on Earth would ever be the same again. The sky itself became a reflection of life. Clear, endless, open. And from that openness came balance. Oxygen did more than color the heavens. It made possible the chemistry of movement, the energy of thought, the beating of every heart that would ever live. Gloire. But change always comes with sacrifice. The oxygen that gave breath to the future was poison to the past. Countless early organisms, those who had thrived in the old, airless world, died as the new sky bloomed. Entire kingdoms vanished beneath the waves, while the blue-green architects continued to multiply, turning the world into a temple of air. From their invisible labor, a new kind of life would rise. Creatures that could harness oxygen, burning it for energy, moving, hunting, evolving. This was the second Genesis. The first was fire. The second, light. It is humbling to think that the very act of breathing, something we do without thought, is the inheritance of these ancient architects. Every inhale you take echoes their first exhalation. Every sigh of wind, every rustle of leaf is part of their gift. They were the quiet alchemists of the sky, turning sunlight into breath and death into renewal, and in doing so, they painted the heavens blue. From orbit, Earth became something new, a world that glowed. Blue oceans, white clouds, and an atmosphere alive with light. It was as if the planet had finally opened its eyes. From gray to emerald, from smoke to air, the world had learned to breathe. The story of the cyanobacteria is the story of generosity written into the fabric of life itself. They did not take, they gave. They filled the void with what others would one day need. And in that giving, they transformed not just the planet, but the future itself. If the first oceans were the womb, then oxygen was the first breath of the newborn. And from that breath, every song, every voice, every heartbeat would one day be born. Look up tonight. The color you see above you, the infinite blue that softens into dusk, is their legacy. You are breathing the light of ancient cells, inhaling the patience of 1 billion years. The next time you take a slow breath, remember this: you are not simply alive. You are continuing the oldest rhythm of all, the rhythm of Earth learning to breathe. Part 7. When the land rose, the Earth found its skin. After the sky learned to breathe and the oceans learned to dream, a new force began to move beneath the quiet blue surface. In the deep, unseen chambers of the planet's heart, magma pulsed like blood, rising through the cracks, searching for release. The Earth was not content to remain a world of water. She was ready to lift her face from the waves. And so, in the slow rhythm of geological breath, the land began to rise. It started with trembling. Deep under the ancient seas, molten rock pushed upward, cooling as it touched the cold embrace of the ocean. The crust buckled, fractured, and in time small ridges of stone broke through the surface. The first islands. They were not green yet. They were black, sharp, and steaming. Islands of pure rock, bare and beautiful, like the bones of the planet revealed. Scientists call this the era of continental genesis, when the restless movement of tectonic plates lifted fragments of crust from the deep. But to see it as the Earth might have felt it, it was a moment of emergence, of identity. Until then, the world had been a mirror. Sky reflecting in sea, sea reflecting in sky. Now something interrupted that reflection. Something solid. Something new. The planet was giving itself form. Imagine standing upon one of those newborn islands. The air thick with mist, the ground warm beneath your feet, the horizon a blend of fire and fog. Around you, the ocean stretches endlessly, and yet for the first time there is land. A place where water pauses, where light can rest. The wind passes over stone and the first echo of sound touches the air. The world, for the first time, has a surface to remember. The Earth had found its skin, and like all living things, that skin would wrinkle, stretch, and heal. Mountains began to rise like scars, reminders of pressure, of struggle, of change. Every ridge, every fold of rock was a line written in the planet's diary. These wrinkles would become time itself. Over eons, the continents drifted and collided. Fragments merged, broke apart, drifted again. The Earth moved like a slow heartbeat, the pulse of plate tectonics. Though the process was invisible to the creatures that would one day walk upon it, it was the reason mountains existed, why rivers had direction, why every grain of sand once belonged to a mountain's crown. The surface of the Earth was no longer static. It was alive. From the depths, volcanoes roared, pouring molten light into the newborn air. Ash rose, mixed with moisture, and fell as mineral rain, fertilizing what would one day become soil. The islands grew, merged, forming the first continents, vast, shifting bodies of land drifting upon the glowing ocean below. And so began the long dance of continents. They met and parted, collided and reformed, each movement leaving behind a trace, a memory pressed into stone. If we could watch the earth from afar, we would see her as a being slowly shaping herself. A sphere of fire covered by the softness of blue, now etched with strokes of brown and gold. She was sculpting her face, and each line was both wound and beauty. Every mountain chain, every valley carved by time, was a story of pressure and release, of destruction and renewal. And the deeper truth, creation and erosion are the same breath, the inhale and exhale of geology. Even now, the continents continue to drift. Mount Everest still rises, the Andes still stretch, the Pacific still opens its slow blue mouth. The planet's body never stops moving, only our human eyes are too brief to see it dance. Yet beneath our cities, beneath the ground where we walk, that slow, ancient pulse continues, a rhythm billions of years old. It's humbling to realize that the stones beneath your feet were once liquid fire, that the soil where trees grow was once ocean floor, that the mountain on the horizon was once dust beneath a sea. The earth keeps no secrets. She transforms them, and in her transformations, she teaches us the same lesson again and again. To endure is to change. The land, once bare and black, began to feel the touch of air and water. Rain carved channels into stone, lightning struck and split rock into dust, wind whispered across cliffs, turning them softer, ready for the life that would come. The first soil was forming, a thin skin of hope. The continents, the mountains, the islands, they were preparing the stage. The planet was building a home for what it did not yet know, for forests, for animals, for us. If the sea was the heart and the sky the breath, then the land became the memory. The mountains would remember pressure. The valleys would remember floods. The cliffs would remember time. Each layer of stone became a page in the story of becoming. And when future hands, human hands, would one day touch those stones, they would feel not just rock, but the slow patience of creation. From a distance, the earth now looked complete. Blue, white, green, and brown, a world of contrast and balance. But within her, the story was still unfolding. Beneath the crust, magma still moved, shaping, shifting, dreaming of new forms. Because the earth, like all living things, was not finished. She was still becoming. So tonight, when you stand on solid ground, close your eyes, feel the weight beneath you. The quiet hum of movement, so slow you cannot sense it. Know that the land you stand upon once rose from the sea like a sigh. The mountains around you, the earth beneath you, the very stones in your hand, are not ancient ruins. They are living memory. And somewhere deep below, the molten heart still beats, reminding us that stability is only the gentlest illusion. Part 8, The First Ice Age. When the world froze to remember. There comes a time in every life and in every world when warmth must give way to stillness. After the birth of continents and the blue awakening of sky and sea, the earth had been alive with motion, winds breathing, tides pulsing, volcanoes singing their slow songs of fire. But balance, even for a planet, does not last forever. And so, the warmth began to fade. At first it was only a whisper, a shift in the light, a cooling of the air, a subtle dimming in the sun's embrace. Then, Slowly, like a great exhale, the temperature dropped. Oceans shivered. Mountains grew pale. Snow began to fall, not as a passing storm, but as a promise. The Earth was entering a long, silent dream. Scientists call this the Huronian glaciation, one of the first and greatest ice ages, when nearly the entire planet froze beneath a blanket of white. The reason? Ironically, oxygen. The very breath that had given life to the world also changed its balance. The rise of oxygen had drawn carbon dioxide from the air, weakening the greenhouse warmth that once held the planet close. And so, in a twist both cruel and beautiful, life's first gift became the cause of its near extinction. Imagine the world then. Oceans sealed under miles of ice, continents hidden beneath glaciers that reached the equator, the air sharp, silent, and silver blue. The planet no longer shone with the deep blue of water. It shimmered white like a pearl adrift in the black sea of space. They call it the snowball Earth, a world asleep, a world remembering. Yet even in that near-death stillness, life did not end. Beneath the frozen crust, in cracks warmed by the planet's inner fire, tiny cells continued to drift and divide. Slowly, patiently, quietly. In darkness, they learned resilience. In cold, they learned patience. And in waiting, they learned to endure. The Ice Age was not a punishment. It was a pause, a sacred moment of silence in the song of creation, the rest between notes where meaning deepens. Because sometimes to grow stronger, life must first be still. If you could have stood upon the surface then, you would have heard nothing. No waves, no rain, no wind. Only the whisper of falling snow and the distant hum of the planet's heartbeat beneath your feet. The Earth was meditating, not dying, becoming. In that long, frozen night, the light of the sun still reached the surface, soft and pale. It scattered across the ice, turning the world into a mirror of the stars. Perhaps the universe needed the Earth to pause so it could see itself reflected back, a world of ice shining like starlight made solid. It was cold, yes, but there was beauty in that cold, the kind of beauty that only silence can make. Then, after millions of years, the breath began to return. Volcanoes pierced the ice, belching carbon dioxide into the sky again. Slowly, the planet warmed. Glaciers melted, oceans awakened, rivers began to flow like memory returning to the mind. And when the ice receded, something miraculous had changed. Life, which had survived in the shadows, was ready. The long winter had forced it to adapt, to become stronger, more complex, more creative. The Ice Age, it turned out, was not an ending, but a cleansing, a resetting of the clock, a renewal of possibilities. When the cold withdrew, life exploded. New species, new forms, new ideas written in the language of DNA. It was as if the planet, after holding its breath for millions of years, finally exhaled, and that breath became evolution. There is a lesson in this as deep and ancient as the ice itself. Cold is not the enemy of life, it is its sculptor. In the absence of movement, life learns to listen. In the absence of warmth, it learns to preserve. In stillness, it learns to be. The Ice Age was the Earth's way of teaching life that love does not always burn. Sometimes it cools so that the next fire may burn brighter. When the glaciers melted, they left behind rivers, lakes, and fertile valleys. The scars of cold became the seeds of abundance. The same water that once froze now flowed again, feeding the roots of everything to come. The Earth was reborn, not through heat, but through the memory of cold. If you close your eyes tonight and listen to the wind through winter trees, you might hear a faint echo of that ancient hush, the song of a planet learning that even in freezing silence, there is tenderness. Because love takes many forms. Sometimes it is sunlight, sometimes it is flame, and sometimes it is simply the patience of ice holding the world in stillness until it is ready to bloom again. Part 9. The Bloom of Life. When the oceans began to dream. When the ice melted, the world began again. The silence of millions of frozen years dissolved into the sound of waves, soft, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of something waking from a long sleep. The oceans, once locked beneath crystal shells, opened their eyes to sunlight. And in those ancient blue depths, something extraordinary stirred. The earth was ready to bloom. Before this moment, life had been small, invisible, patient, simple. Tiny cells drifting without shape or story, whispering in chemical silence. But after the ice receded, the seas filled with new energy. Minerals from melting glaciers, oxygen from the blue-green architects of the sky, and the warmth of a kinder sun. It was as if the planet had exhaled, and that breath became life in motion. In that warmth, cells began to cooperate, joining, folding, building into bodies. Muscle, bone, and nerve, the architecture of awareness, were born from water's memory. The first creatures learned to move, to swim, to chase light. They were soft, translucent, and strange. Ribbons of flesh that shimmered like liquid dreams. Eyes that saw light for the first time. Mouths that learned hunger. Nerves that learned fear. This was the Cambrian explosion, a blossoming of life so sudden and vast that the oceans, once silent, now pulsed with movement. For billions of years, the Earth had prepared for this. Every molecule, every breath, every freeze and thaw was leading to this instant, the moment when life became aware of itself. The planet that once learned to breathe now began to feel. Imagine standing on the shore of that ancient sea, the air still heavy with moisture, the horizon hazy with mist. Beneath the surface, a universe unfolds. Creatures glide through golden light, trilobites scuttling across the sand, worms twisting like ribbons of living ink, jelly-like beings drifting in silent grace. Every movement a story, every shadow a secret, every flicker of fear, the first heartbeat of emotion in the history of the Earth. Science calls it evolution, but there was more than biology here. There was curiosity, there was desire, there was the first spark of awareness. When a creature fled from a shadow, it wasn't just instinct, it was memory. It was the beginning of learning, the origin of thought. The oceans had become a library of motion, and every living thing was a word written in the language of survival. The colors of the world changed too. Coral reefs began to grow, bacteria painted the seas with pigments, and sunlight fractured through water into a spectrum of blues and greens. It was no longer a planet of silence, it was a planet that sang, not in sound but in motion, the flutter of fins, the pulse of jellyfish, the rhythm of tides dancing with the moon. And in that vast underwater theater, the first drama unfolded, the story of predator and prey. For the first time, life began to take life. One creature pursued another, one fled, one survived, one vanished. And though it seems cruel, it was this dance of hunger and fear that gave birth to complexity. Because in order to survive, life had to imagine. It had to adapt, to anticipate, to remember. Fear became intelligence. Hunger became evolution. conflict became creativity. In the language of biology, this is called natural selection. But in the language of the soul, it was the beginning of consciousness. The sea, once filled with drifting cells, now rippled with will. The earth, in her slow wisdom, had found a new way to dream. The same oceans that once held only molecules now held desire, the quiet fire that drives all things forward. From the smallest plankton to the first creature with eyes, everything was learning to respond, to light, to movement, to the whisper of danger. Life had become aware of itself, and that awareness would never sleep again. If you look closely at the fossil beds of the Cambrian, you can still see the marks of this awakening. The first shells, the first bones, the first traces of nervous systems. Each fossil is a signature, a moment when water dreamed itself into form, when survival became story. The ocean had become an author, and life its living ink. Every ripple of the sea you hear today is an echo of that moment. Every living creature, including you, is a continuation of that first awakening. We are, each of us, the descendants of those who learned to move toward light and away from shadow. Every breath, every heartbeat, every thought is part of the same current, the same story that began in that ancient sea. The bloom of life was not the end of creation, it was the beginning of meaning. Because from this moment on, life was no longer chemistry. It was experience, it was feeling, it was memory. The oceans had become aware, and in their depths, the seeds of every song, every dream, every heartbeat had already begun to grow. Part 10. Earth, the planet of memory. After the bloom of life, after the oceans filled with movement and light, the planet began to settle once more, not into stillness, but into memory. Every wave that crashed upon a shore, every mountain that rose and fell, every leaf that sank into mud, was written quietly into the planet's archive. For while we remember in words and stories, the earth remembers in stone. Beneath your feet, beneath the green and the cities and the noise, lies an ocean of silence, a vast library of rock and dust, where time itself is stored grain by grain. Every layer of sediment, every ripple frozen into shale, every fossil pressed between slabs of stone is a page in the biography of the planet. The earth does not forget. It cannot. Because forgetting is the privilege of things that live fast and die young. But stone has patience. If you hold a pebble in your hand, you are not just holding a piece of ground. You are holding a fragment of time, hundreds of millions of years compressed into silence. It was once magma, then sand, then pressure, then sleep. And in that sleep, it recorded everything. The weight of the ocean above it, the heat of the sun through the atmosphere, the pulse of earthquakes beneath. That small stone you toss across a lake once rested at the bottom of a sea older than the moon's craters. It has seen more than any living creature ever will. Scientists read this memory with care. To them, the lines in rock are sentences, the minerals letters, and the fossils illustrations drawn by time itself. From this silent script, we have learned the story of Earth's creation, its fires, its floods, its extinctions and resurrections. But even without science, you can feel it. The gravity of ages held within the weight of a single stone. Touch it long enough, and the rush of your own life feels slower, gentler, truer, because when you hold Earth's memory, you begin to remember your own. We often think of time as something that moves forward, a straight road leading away from us. But on this planet, time folds. It circles. It presses itself into matter. Every rock is a loop, a meditation on permanence and change. The mountain erodes into sand. The sand is carried by rivers. The rivers harden into stone again. And within that endless cycle, nothing is truly lost. The earth, in her wisdom, keeps everything. There are places where you can see her memory clearly. Canyon walls layered like pages of an ancient book. Each band a different era. Each color a different mood of the planet. Here, the oldest layers tell of fire and chaos. Above them, the marks of water. Higher still, the fossils of things that swam, crawled, and breathed. You could stand there, place your hand upon the stone, and trace with your fingers the slow handwriting of creation. In those cliffs, millions of years pass in the width of your palm. Time, in its purest form, is touchable. The Earth's memory is not made of thoughts or images. It is made of pressure, of patience, of quiet endurance. And in that sense, it is a form of meditation. Where we rush to remember, the Earth simply waits. Where we fear forgetting, the Earth trusts the weight of time. Perhaps that is her greatest wisdom, that nothing must be remembered if it is truly lived. In the mineral world, memory is not fragile. It cannot be erased by time, only transformed by it. When a forest burns, its ashes fall into the soil. When a creature dies, its body becomes part of the rock. Even the wind leaves a trace, patterns carved into dunes, shapes that echo through epochs. All of it, every event, every loss, every joy becomes texture. To the human eye, it is just stone, but to the earth, it is the record of everything she has ever felt. We live upon that memory without noticing it. We build our homes from ancient bones of the planet. We carve our monuments into cliffs of forgotten ages. Even the air we breathe once belonged to volcanoes that no longer exist. We are surrounded by history so vast, we have stopped seeing it. And yet each moment we walk, the ground beneath us whispers, "Remember me." It is no coincidence that memory and geology share the same rhythm. Both are built in layers. Both can be buried, eroded, rediscovered. Both carry beauty and scars together. When we excavate our past, whether in rock or in heart, we find the same thing, not loss, but continuity. Because what seems gone is only resting deeper. Perhaps that is why humans are drawn to stone, why we stack them, carve them, turn them into temples and tombs. On some level, we understand that stone endures where we cannot. It is our way of borrowing the earth's patience, of writing our stories into her larger one. Every monument, every ruin, every fossilized footprint is a small rebellion against forgetting. And when time finally claims our cities, the rock will still remember, not our names, but the shape of our existence. In this way, the Earth is not only a planet, it is a living archive, a consciousness of stone, a memory made physical. We are born from her minerals, carved from her patience, and one day we will return to her silence. But she will not mourn. She will record. Our stories, our voices, our warmth, and our mistakes, all will settle, become layers, and join the unbroken memory beneath her skin. When you walk by a river and pick up a smooth pebble, pause for a moment. Feel its coolness, its weight. That small stone has outlived empires, witnessed oceans rise and mountains crumble. It remembers everything, not with words, but with presence. You too are part of that memory, made of the same minerals, the same atoms that once shimmered in starlight and slept in stone. You are not separate from the planet's past. You are its continuation, Earth remembering itself. So tonight, when you lie down and close your eyes, listen closely. The hum you hear beneath the silence of your thoughts is not just your pulse. It is the slow, patient rhythm of the world recording itself, breathing through you, through stone, through time. Because memory is not something we keep, it is something we are. And Earth, the planet of memory, has never forgotten a single moment of her becoming. Part 11. The heartbeat of continents. Even stone, it seems, can move. Even the ground beneath our feet has a rhythm, slow, deep, almost imperceptible, but alive. The continents are not still bodies of land. They are the heartbeats of the planet, rising and falling in the rhythm of eons. From afar, Earth looks calm, eternal, unchanging. But beneath that illusion, its surface flows like a great sleeping tide. The land itself drifts quietly, ceaselessly, as if following the pulse of a colossal heart. This is not poetry alone. It is plate tectonics, the movement of the Earth's crust, driven by the molten breath of its core. Each drift, each collision, each fracture and reunion is a beat in the planet's endless symphony. Once, long ago, the continents were one. A single boundless landmass, surrounded by an infinite ocean. Its name was Pangaea, the All-Earth. It was the greatest heartbeat in Earth's history. A moment when everything that would ever be separate was still connected, touching, breathing together. Mountains rose along the seams of its joining, forests stretched unbroken across thousands of miles, and ancient creatures roamed from pole to pole as if the world itself were one great continent dream. But even dreams must change shape. Beneath Pangaea, the magma stirred. Heat and movement, pressure and desire, built slowly, invisibly. Then, over tens of millions of years, the supercontinent began to break apart. What once was one heartbeat divided into many. The land cracked like a slow smile of creation, and the pieces began to drift away toward new skies, new suns, new fates. Imagine it, the great landmass stretching, sighing, pulling itself apart like the opening of lungs. Where there had been forest, there were now coastlines. Where there had been plains, there were now oceans. And through this vast rearrangement, new climates formed, new species evolved, and life, once unified, began its grand diversification. The heartbeat of the continents was not only geological, it was biological. Each pulse brought extinction and creation. Each drift redefined what life could be. The Earth's surface, seen from deep time, moves like breathing. Supercontinents form, merge, then scatter again. Pangaea before us, Gondwana and Rodinia before that, and perhaps one day a future supercontinent waiting to be born. This cycle, the merging and breaking of lands, is called the supercontinent cycle. But it is in truth the pulse of planetary life. Every 400 to 600 million years, the continents come together and part like the systole and diastole of a living heart. In that rhythm lies the story of all evolution. When the landmasses unite, the planet grows quiet, fewer shorelines, fewer ecosystems. But when they break apart, life explodes with diversity. New coasts, new rivers, new climates, new possibilities. Every mountain range, every desert and delta is a note in that vast symphony. The continents, though ancient, are dancers, turning slowly across the molten stage. You might think of it this way: the Earth breathes through its air, but it dreams through its land. The drifting of continents is the language in which it thinks, the way it shapes memory and renews itself. When Pangea broke, the world's single body became many minds, and from that multiplicity, consciousness and complexity emerged. Today, if you trace the outline of the continents, you can still see their longing for one another. How Africa's western curve fits against South America's eastern coast. How the islands of the Pacific echo the scars of ancient separations. They remember. They have not forgotten the shape of unity. The oceans between them are merely the space between heartbeats. Even now, the continents continue to move. A few centimeters a year, barely faster than your fingernails grow. Yet given enough time, they will rewrite the face of the planet again. One day, the Pacific may close, the Americas may join Asia, a new supercontinent will rise, another pulse, another chapter, and Earth's rhythm will continue, slow, patient, eternal. It's humbling to realize that the very ground you walk upon was once halfway around the world, that the soil beneath your feet has drifted through oceans, passed under mountains, and witnessed extinctions beyond imagination. You are standing not on land, but on motion slowed by time. The continent you call home is simply a wave frozen mid-breath. Perhaps that is why we, too, are restless, why humanity keeps moving, exploring, migrating. We are made of the same planet, and somewhere deep within us, the ancient rhythm of tectonic drift still beats. The same pulse that moves mountains moves through our blood. The longing to move, to change, to discover. We are, each of us, a continuation of the Earth's heartbeat. So tonight, when you look at a map of the world, don't see borders or nations. See motion. See history folded into shape. See the silent rhythm beneath the surface. Continents breathing, time unfolding. Because the planet you stand on is not fixed, not still, not separate. It is alive, it remembers, it beats. And with every tremor, every drift, every shifting tide, it whispers the same message, soft, patient, eternal. I am still becoming. Part 12, Extinction and Renewal. When the earth learned to begin again. Nothing alive endures without transformation. Even the earth, vast, ancient, and steady, has known heartbreak. There have been moments, scattered like dark breaths through her history, when life came close to ending altogether. Moments when oceans turned to poison, when the sky dimmed for centuries, when forests vanished and the voices of entire species fell silent. These were not endings, though they felt like it. They were cleansings, pauses between verses in the planet's long song of creation. The scientists call them mass extinctions. But in a deeper, quieter sense, they were the Earth's rebirths. There were 5 great extinctions, each one reshaping the story of life, each one rewriting what it meant to exist. The first came in the Ordovician seas, when glaciers locked the world in ice. Most creatures of the ocean, trilobites, corals, and tiny plankton, disappeared. But from that cold silence, new forms arose, stronger, stranger, more complex. Then came the Devonian extinction, when the first forests changed the air too quickly, drawing down carbon dioxide and cooling the planet again. The seas collapsed under the weight of change. Yet even then, evolution whispered, adapt or become memory. But nothing compared to what came next. The great dying of the Permian period. Volcanoes the size of continents erupted for centuries. The air thickened with ash and methane. Oceans turned acidic, and nearly 90% of all species vanished. It was the closest Earth ever came to being silent forever. And yet, from that silence, life found a way to breathe again. Tiny survivors, burrowers, swimmers, spore bearers, held onto existence in the dark, and when the fires cooled, they rebuilt the world. The earth herself, scarred but still turning, seemed to murmur, "Begin again." The fourth extinction came at the end of the Triassic, when the great supercontinent Pangaea was breaking apart. As the land tore open, volcanoes filled the sky with carbon and chaos. Half the planet's creatures died. But what rose afterward were the dinosaurs, the architects of a new era. And for 160 million years, they ruled with grace and strength, a golden reign of scale and thunder, until one day a new fire crossed the heavens. The fifth extinction, perhaps the most famous, was the Cretaceous event. A meteor struck the Yucatan Peninsula with the power of billions of bombs. The sky burned, the earth shook, and within days, the age of giants was gone. But again, life refused to surrender. In the quiet left behind, small, warm-blooded creatures, mammals, emerged from their hiding places. They carried with them a new kind of fire, the seed of thought, the hunger for meaning. That spark, passed from cell to cell, would one day become us. To the human eye, these cataclysms seem cruel. Why must everything die to make room for the new? But to the earth, death is not cruelty, it is conversation. Each extinction is a question. What will you do with change? And each rebirth is an answer. I will adapt. I will become. There is a rhythm to it, a deep, planetary pulse between creation and collapse. The earth breathes in life, then exhales it back into potential. In that cycle, nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Even in extinction, life is preparing its next verse. If you could have watched from the edge of space, you would have seen the planet flicker. Blue, then gray, then blue again. A living heart beating through fire and frost. After every devastation, green returned. Water shimmered again. The sky cleared, and new forms of life danced upon the ruins of the old. The earth was not fragile, she was wise. She had learned what every soul must, that endings are simply another shape of beginning. And perhaps that is the secret written in our own blood, because every cell in you is descended from survivors, from those who endured every extinction, every flood, every flame. We are not children of ease. We are the descendants of persistence. Our bones remember volcanoes. Our lungs remember the thin air of the Permian. Our eyes remember the darkness after the meteor. And yet, here we are, breathing, feeling, creating. Each time the earth fell silent, she returned stronger, more intricate, more self-aware. And so do we. For what is suffering, if not a smaller version of extinction? What is healing, if not the slow blooming of new life within us? Perhaps the universe uses loss not to punish, but to polish, to strip away what is no longer needed, so that something wiser may emerge. The earth has died 5 times, but she has never stopped living. And in that truth, there is comfort. Because the same force that rebuilt coral reefs after fire, that lifted forests from volcanic ash, that made mammals from dust, is the same force that mends your heart after it breaks. The cycle is the same, only the scale changes. So when you feel the weight of endings, remember this: you come from a planet that has already survived the impossible, again and again. You are made of resilience older than memory. You are the continuation of the earth's promise to die beautifully and to rise again wiser. Because sometimes the universe must let everything go quiet just long enough for a new song to begin. And when it does, it sounds like this: the whisper of leaves after fire, the murmur of water returning to the land, the heartbeat of life, soft, steady, eternal. Part 13, The Birth of Humanity. Earth's echo learning to speak. For billions of years, the Earth had been dreaming. She dreamed in lava, in ocean tides, in the slow drift of continents, and the silent pulse of stars. She dreamed in coral and fern, in scales and feathers, in the rise and fall of creatures that came and went like breaths of her imagination. And then, one day, she opened her eyes. We were that moment. Humans were not an arrival from elsewhere. We are not strangers on this planet. We are Earth becoming aware of herself. Every atom in our bodies was once part of her skin. Stone turned to bone, iron from her molten heart now running red in our blood. When our hearts beat, they echo the rhythm of her core, still spinning, still burning, deep beneath our feet. We are not separate from her. We are her continuation, the voice she finally found. It took nearly 4 billion years of patience to sculpt a mind that could remember, a gaze that could wonder, a voice that could ask, why? From the first cells that learned to breathe, to the fish that rose from the sea, to the apes who stood and looked at the horizon, every step of evolution was Earth teaching herself to see. Every hand we have ever raised, every word we have ever spoken, is her language made audible. When we think, she thinks. When we love, she feels her own tenderness reflected back. We are her echo, learning to speak. Science tells the story clearly enough. From Australopithecus to Homo habilis, from Homo erectus to sapiens, millions of years of adaptation, migration, and change. A brain expanding, a hand growing precise enough to hold fire, a voice forming sound into meaning. But beneath those evolutionary details, there was something more profound, a quiet awakening. The Earth was learning self-reflection. For the first time in cosmic history, a planet could look up at the stars and ask where it came from. Imagine the first human to lift their gaze at night, seeing not gods or monsters, but light. Feeling something stir, not fear, but recognition, because in that light was home. In that vastness was the memory of molten skies and raining fire. When we looked outward, we were really looking inward, into the mind of the planet itself. The stars we see are her memories. The dreams we dream are her whispers. We call ourselves human beings, but the name itself is a misunderstanding. We are not beings apart. We are Earth's consciousness, temporarily shaped into flesh. When we breathe, it is her air moving through us. When we cry, it is her water leaving our eyes. When we die, we do not leave her, we return. Every burial is a reunion, every heartbeat a reminder. We often think of ourselves as separate, above nature, beyond Earth, as if we were guests rather than children. But listen closely. When the wind moves through trees, it sounds like breath. When the waves crash, they sound like pulse. And when thunder rolls through the sky, it is the same electricity that sparks in our nerves. The planet and the body are mirrors. The rhythm of one is the rhythm of the other. We are not observers of this world. We are the means by which it observes itself. It took nearly 13.8 billion years from the birth of the universe for matter to learn how to think. And when it did, it gave itself our eyes. We are the universe folded into awareness, Earth condensed into question, cosmos made curious. We are the moment when stardust learned to see starlight. And yet, awareness is not comfort. To be human is to feel both infinite and fragile. To know we are ancient, yet fleeting. To carry in our bones the weight of mountains and in our hearts the ache of impermanence. But perhaps that is exactly what the earth intended, to experience herself for a short time as something that can feel her own beauty before it fades. Because beauty only exists through eyes that can lose it. When you place your hand on the ground, you are not touching the earth. You are touching your origin. The molecules in your skin were once part of rivers, mountains, clouds, and stars. When you speak, you are continuing the first murmurs of magma beneath her crust. When you love, you are echoing the gravitational pull that first drew dust into the shape of this world. Everything in you, your fear, your hope, your longing, is her experiment in consciousness. Perhaps that is why we search for meaning, why we build, destroy, and dream again. We are not trying to escape the earth. We are trying to remember her, to bring her memory into the language of thought. Every poem, every invention, every act of kindness is her way of learning herself more deeply. We are the mirror she built to understand her own reflection. The human heart is a strange machine, soft, yet unstoppable. It beats roughly 100,000 times a day, in rhythm with the molten core beneath our feet, which has been beating for 4.5 billion years. Every throb of blood is an echo of magma, every breath an echo of tides, every dream a continuation of the planet's original desire to live, to feel, to know. You are not simply living on the earth. You are the earth, living as thought. So when you look in the mirror, remember, the eyes that gaze back are not yours alone. They are the eyes of the universe that has finally learned to see itself. When you smile, a planet smiles. When you hurt, the world remembers what it feels like to change. And when your heart beats, it whispers the same truth the earth has always known. I am alive. I am learning. I am still becoming. Part 14. Earth, the oldest storyteller. There's a voice that has been speaking since before there were words, before there were ears to listen, before there were hearts to understand. It does not speak in sentences or sound, but in movement, in shape, in time. The earth has been telling her story since the first breath of magma cooled to stone. We have only just begun to learn how to hear it. Every grain of sand, every ripple of water, every gust of wind across an empty plain is a fragment of a sentence she's still whispering. She speaks through erosion and return, through storms and stillness, through the slow rhythm of growth and decay. The mountains tell it with patience. The rivers retell it with motion. The winds translate it into sound, and the oceans carry it in waves that have never ceased their song. Different languages, one story. The story of becoming, of rising and falling, of giving and taking, of remembering and forgetting, only to remember again. If you listen closely, you'll hear it everywhere. In the sigh of sand dunes migrating under the desert sun, in the hum of wind passing through the bones of old trees, in the pulse of the tide as it touches the shore, then retreats only to return again. The earth is speaking, not in words, but in rhythms, and deep within you, those rhythms are already understood. Because the body is fluent in the earth's language, your breath follows her tides, your heartbeat mirrors her molten core, your bones echo the weight of her mountains. You are the listener she has been shaping for billions of years. The one creature capable of hearing her entire story and realizing it was also your own. When you stand on a cliff and feel the wind against your face, that is her voice. When you dip your hands in a river, that is her touch. When you close your eyes and listen to rain, that is her memory, falling softly across your skin. She has never stopped speaking. We simply forgot how to hear. Long before we had gods or myths or maps, the planet was already telling us everything we needed to know: how to rest, how to renew, how to transform pain into patience. The stones remind us that endurance is quiet. The rivers remind us that movement is not chaos. The wind reminds us that invisibility is not absence. And the sea reminds us that love is simply gravity learning to flow. Modern ears have grown noisy. We listen for headlines, not horizons. We measure, but we no longer feel. And yet the old storyteller is still here, softly shaping our days, writing her narrative in clouds and tides, in the growth rings of trees, in the migration of whales, in the frost patterns on a window pane. Every element is a syllable, every season a sentence. The entire planet is one long story told in waves of time. Scientists call it the geologic record, the layers of Earth's crust, the sediments of memory. But beneath the data and diagrams, it is pure poetry. Because each layer says, quietly, I was here, I changed, I endured. And the newest layer, the one we are living, is simply the latest verse in that ancient poem. The Earth's voice is gentle, but it carries the weight of eternity. When volcanoes erupt, she is not angry. She is remembering fire. When rivers flood, she is not cruel. She is reminding us of movement. When forests regrow after flame, she is whispering forgiveness. Every act of nature is not punishment. It is language. And within that language, there is a deeper truth. We have never been alone. Loneliness belongs to species that have forgotten how to listen. But if you open your senses, if you stand still enough, you will feel the conversation continuing between soil and rain, between light and shadow, between your pulse and the planets. The wind against your skin is not empty. It is greeting you. It is saying softly, you are still part of me. Even silence is not silence. It is the sound of the earth inhaling, a breath so vast and slow that we mistake it for stillness. But beneath that stillness, continents move, oceans turn, and the heart of the planet beats on, steady as faith. She is not distant, she is inside you. Every dream you've ever had was carried to you through the hum of her magnetic field, through the quiet electricity that surrounds every living thing. You are not walking on the earth. You are walking within her voice. And when you finally stop, when the noise of life falls away, you will hear it. The oldest story ever told. A story not of power, but of connection. Not of endings, but of cycles. A story that began before life and will continue long after memory. It is not a story of a planet alone in the void. It is a story of companionship, of a being who made stars her audience, oceans her language, and us her echo. So tonight, when you lie in silence, listen. Truly listen. The hum beneath your breath, the pulse in your veins, the whisper of wind outside your window, they are all saying the same thing. You were never separate. You were never forgotten. You were never alone. Because the earth has always been speaking, and through you she finally hears herself. Part 15. When the earth sleeps, and we sleep with her. Night is not darkness. It is the earth closing her eyes. Every evening, as the planet turns away from the sun, she slows her pulse, just a little. The winds soften, the oceans breathe in longer waves, and a deep, almost imperceptible calm spreads across her surface. What we call nightfall is simply the earth falling into her own rhythm again. The stars return, the moon rises, her quiet guardian, and together they begin the oldest song in the universe. A song without words, without melody, but full of meaning. The light of the moon spills gently across mountains, over the edges of trees, onto the sleeping cities and oceans. It is the reflection of sunlight, yes, but also it is the memory of touch. The earth, in her turning, lets herself be comforted by that distant, loyal glow. And so she hums, a low vibration we can no longer hear, but which every living thing still feels. That hum is ancient. It began when the oceans were young, when tides first began to move in time with the moon's pull. Each wave that rises and falls is a heartbeat of the planet's sleep. Each whisper of wind in the dark is a breath. And within that rhythm, all creatures, great and small, find rest. The crickets in the grass, the whales in the depths, the forests, the mountains, even the stones, all respond to that pulse. Because night is not absence, it is synchronization. When the earth sleeps, so does everything she carries. You too are part of that rhythm. When you close your eyes, you are not escaping the world. You are returning to it. The slow waves of your breath are echoes of her tides. Your heartbeat matches her rotation, one full turn every 24 hours. A lullaby written in gravity and time. Even in sleep, you are held by her movement, a passenger in her endless dance through space. Look up, just before you drift away. The stars above you are not distant lights. They are memories of her beginnings, the same fire that once made her bones, the same light that still glows inside your blood. You are not lying under the sky, you are lying within it. The night is not above you, it is around you, through you, and within the slow dreaming of the earth herself. Scientists have measured the planet's natural resonance, the tiny vibration that passes through her crust and air. It pulses at around 7.83 Hertz, the Schumann resonance, the frequency of the Earth's heartbeat. When humans sleep deeply, our brainwaves slow to nearly the same rhythm. This is no coincidence. It is harmony. When we rest, we are literally tuning ourselves to the frequency of our home. We dream because the planet dreams. We breathe because she breathes. And in sleep, we remember that we were never separate. The moon watches, the oceans move, the air cools, and somewhere in the dark, a human exhales, their breath joining the rhythm of the earth's great rest. There is nothing mystical about it. It is science, yes, but it is also poetry made real. For billions of years, the planet has sung this same quiet song, a lullaby of motion, of gravity, of grace, and every night we return to it. We call it sleep. She calls it home. When the earth sleeps, time softens. The borders between things blur, between self and planet, between breath and wind, between thought and silence. And in that blur, something beautiful happens. The noise of the day dissolves. The mind, like the tide, recedes, and what remains is the pure rhythm of existence itself, steady, circular, eternal. That is what you feel in the final seconds before you drift away, the gravity of belonging pulling you gently inward. It is easy to forget this. We fill our nights with screens and light, our minds with motion, our rooms with noise. But when the world quiets, truly quiets, you can still hear it, the sound of a planet breathing. It is not loud, it is not grand. It is the whisper of wind and leaves, the slow turning of oceans, the faint vibration under your pillow as the earth continues her journey through the dark. You are never really alone when you sleep. You are lying in the arms of something ancient and kind, a mother made of iron and ocean, stone and song. She has rocked countless generations before you. She will rock countless more after. And as you drift deeper, your heartbeat slows, matching hers until the boundaries dissolve completely. You and the earth, breathing as one. Perhaps that is what peace truly means. Not the absence of thought, but the return to rhythm. Not silence, but the harmony of everything that was ever alive, resting together for a little while. Night is not the end of the day. It is the beginning of belonging. And in that belonging, in that quiet surrender, the oldest lullaby continues, unbroken, unending, unseen. So tonight, when you lie down to sleep, let go of your worries. They are too small for a planet to carry. Let your breath follow her waves. Let your mind follow her orbit. And let the soft turning of the earth sing you back into the rhythm of all things. Because you are not merely falling asleep, you are returning home.